I've actually, in the last few minutes, just had a statement through from the Buckingham Palace spokesperson. It reads, following the Prime Minister's statement this afternoon calling a general election, the royal family will, in accordance with normal procedure, postpone engagements that may appear to divert attention or distract from the election campaign. Their Majesties send their sincere apologies to any of those who may be affected as a result. Now, I understand the D-Day memorial engagements scheduled for very soon indeed will be going ahead, involving both the King, the Queen, Prince William and other members of the royal family, both here in the United Kingdom and in Normandy. Everything else is being decided on a case-by-case basis. So there is a huge question mark over Trooping the Colour, scheduled for the 15th of June. There is also a big question mark over the state visit of Japan. The King is scheduled to host a state visit for the Japanese Emperor here in London at the end of June. There is a question mark over whether that is going ahead. I'm also told the King was expected to hold an audience with Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, at 5:45 this evening. That didn't happen. Instead, as you can probably imagine, the Prime Minister physically went to see the King at Buckingham Palace earlier this afternoon to ask his permission to hold a general election on the 4th of July and therefore dissolve Parliament. The King had a busy diary already, to be honest, Michelle, but he had to find time to carry out one of his most important constitutional roles, and that is to see his Prime Minister and grant the Prime Minister his permission to hold that general election on the 4th of July and dissolve Parliament, something that is the King's royal prerogative, but he will only do so on the advice of the Prime Minister. Now, any bills currently going through Parliament, which the King has not yet given royal assent to, they are not going to happen in this parliamentary session. They're not going to become laws. There's also a big issue for the King's diary by the timing of this election, because the 4th of July falls within Holyrood Week, i.e. Royal Week, where the King is scheduled to be in Edinburgh and Scotland, carrying out a number of traditional engagements, including a garden party at the Palace of Holyrood House on the 2nd of July, which suggests to me the King may have to come back to London earlier to be here at Buckingham Palace on the 5th of July, the day after the general election, to appoint his Prime Minister. Now, it could still happen in Scotland. If you remember, Liz Truss in September 2022 was appointed by Her Majesty the Queen at Balmoral due to the Queen's health. The King is still continuing cancer treatment, so they may decide nearer the time in July that the new Prime Minister, whoever that is, has to go to where the King is rather than it happening at Buckingham Palace. None of that, of course, is confirmed. As it stands, the top line here is the King has granted the Prime Minister permission to hold a general election on the 4th of July.